The space station orbiting the neutral moon of Tirnax 4 shimmered with silver lights. Ships from across the galaxy docked every hour, bringing scientists, soldiers, diplomats, and explorers. Peace ruled here. It was a place where species with nothing in common tried to work together. But today, peace held its breath. Alara, a young ambassador from the Lithari species, stepped into the grand hall. Her skin sparkled like glass under the ceiling lights. Tall and graceful, she walked silently past armed guards, her face calm, her heart steady. Her people valued balance and silence. Every word, every move, had meaning. But something inside her stirred when she saw the human. Commander Jace Walker stood at the center of the hall, speaking to a group of engineers. His uniform was simple. His posture was confident. Unlike the others, he wasn't nervous. He laughed loudly, moved freely, and spoke without fear. That alone made him a curiosity. Humans were still new to the Galactic Council. Still feared. Still whispered about. Alara paused to study him. He noticed her. Their eyes met. For a second, time felt slower. Then a server carrying drinks stumbled. The tray slipped. The glasses flew. Jace moved faster than anyone else in the room. In a blink, he reached Alara, caught the tray with one hand, and gently guided her backward with the other. "Are you all right?" he asked. She blinked. His voice was warm, deep, and close. "I am," she said softly. Around them, silence spread. The guards froze. The servers stopped. Even the ambassador from Dralcon 7, a planet of stone-skinned warriors, stared in disbelief. Touched her. That simple gesture, a hand to the shoulder, meant nothing to humans. But to the Lithari, it was sacred. A touch was reserved only for family or deep personal bonds. And worse, it had come from a human. A Deathworlder. The word echoed in the minds of every alien present. Deathworlders were dangerous. Their home, planet, Earth, was wild, brutal, and filled with creatures that could tear through steel. Humans were unpredictable, fast-healing, emotionally chaotic, and hard to kill. And now, one had touched a Lithari ambassador. In a dark chamber deep within, the station, the Galactic Council reviewed the footage. 10 species, 22 voices, and 1 screen. The room pulsed with tension. "This cannot be ignored," said the Minister of Protocol from Velnar 3, his tentacles tapping nervously. "It was a protective action," replied the Morthan observer, a spider-like diplomat. "But, yes, he touched her." The Dralcon delegate slammed his fist on the table. "That's not all." She smiled. Everyone turned to the screen. There it was, clear and undeniable. Alara had smiled at Jace after the incident. Not out of fear, not out of embarrassment, but with something else. Something warmer. "What if this leads to something more?" someone asked. The room went silent again. Counselor Thalix, a thin, tall alien with a voice like wind over metal, finally spoke. "If she forms a bond with him, if she chooses him, we could all suffer. You know how humans are. When they protect someone, they don't stop." "We've seen what a single human can do," added another voice. "In the Battle of Aaron 6, one human held the line against 60 Tholari warriors. Their soldiers don't retreat. Their medics run into fire. Their mothers carry weapons while feeding children. This is not a species that loves lightly. If he grows attached, he will fight for her, no matter the cost." Back in the station's botanical garden, Alara walked among the glowing trees. Her assistant, a young Lithari aide named Veon, followed closely. "You should not have smiled," he said. "I know," she replied. "He touched you. They saw it. They'll ask you to step down." I know, she said again. Then why? She stopped and looked at the stars through the glass dome above. Because when the tray fell, he didn't think. He didn't check for danger. He didn't weigh the risk. He just moved. For me. That's not honorable, Vayon said quickly. That's reckless. It felt different, she said. It felt human. The next day, Jace received a message requesting his appearance before the Council's Cultural Ethics Board. He raised an eyebrow but agreed. When he entered the chamber, he saw Alara already seated. Her face was unreadable. The others stared at him like he was a live grenade. "Do you understand what you did?" a voice asked from the shadows. "I caught a tray and made sure someone didn't fall," Jace replied. "Did you know the meaning of touch among the Lithari?" "No," he said plainly. "Should I?" Silence followed. Then Alara stood. "He didn't mean harm," she said. "And I didn't feel harmed." "That's not the point," someone snapped. Jace stepped forward. "Then what is?" "Because I've seen warriors rip each other apart over territory. I've seen delegates argue for days over symbols on a flag. But now, one helpful gesture is a galactic incident? You are a Deathworlder," Counselor Thalix said calmly. "You don't understand restraint." Jace looked around the room. Then he looked at Alara. "I understand loyalty," he said. "I understand protecting those who matter." The council chamber buzzed with whispers. Something had changed, and the galaxy had noticed. The news spread across the stars faster than light could travel. By the next morning, every major channel on the galactic net ran the same headline. Human soldier touches Lithari ambassador. Council divided. Some called it a harmless act. Others called it a breach of sacred code. But for the Galactic Council, it was more than just a touch. It was the beginning of a storm. Inside the Council's central chamber, the air felt tense. Rows of seats floated in mid-air, each one shaped to suit a different species. The delegates sat still, though the unease in the room was impossible to ignore. Counselor Thalix adjusted the folds of his long robe. His species, the Vexari, preferred silence over speeches. Yet today, even he had something to say. "We must not ignore this," Thalix began. "This is not about a single moment. This is about what may come next." Across from him, the representative of Earth, Ambassador Rena Holt, leaned forward. "What do you expect us to do?" she asked calmly. "Discipline a man for catching someone who almost fell?" Thalix's voice stayed soft but firm. "A Deathworlder touched a Lithari. That act has meaning far beyond what humans understand." Another delegate, thick-skinned and horned, spoke up. "The humans say they didn't know, but this ignorance is dangerous." Rena nodded slowly. "If your rules aren't shared, how can you expect others to follow them?" Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some agreed with her. Others remained unmoved. Meanwhile, in her private quarters, Alara sat at her window, watching the endless stars. Her thoughts swirled like a storm. She remembered the warmth of his hand, the way he moved without hesitation. There was no fear, no caution, only instinct and care. Her assistant, Vayon, entered quietly. He held a small datapad. "The council is split," he said. "Some want you recalled. Others want the human expelled." Alara turned to him. "And what do you want?" Vayon hesitated. "I want peace, and peace does not come from scandal." "This wasn't a scandal," she replied. "It was a moment." "To you," he said. "To them, it is danger." Back in the human quarters, Jace sat on a bench near the training hall. The air smelled of metal and clean circuits. He tossed a small rubber ball against the wall, catching it each time it bounced back. A fellow soldier walked up. Her name was Ava, one of Earth's top defense officers. "You've made history, you know," she said. "Didn't mean to," he replied. Doesn't matter. They're scared. He stopped tossing the ball. Of what? She shrugged. Of us. Of what we might do if we care too much. Jace didn't answer. He looked down at his hands. Strong, calloused, steady. The same hands that had held a weapon, in battle, now treated like a threat for offering help. Across the station, in a quiet research wing, two scientists watched clips of human behavior. They adapt, said one, his eyes flicking between screens. They recover faster. Their bodies heal, but their minds, they're different. Emotion-driven, replied the other. But not weak. Their bonds are powerful, dangerous, if broken. The first scientist pulled up data from Earth's wars, disasters, and recovery efforts. They survive what others can't, and when they protect someone, they commit fully. That's the fear, isn't it? The second said. That if the Lithari girl becomes more than a friend, the human will never let go. Or forgive. Later that evening, the council held a closed meeting. Only ambassadors and military advisors were allowed. Alara was invited. As she entered, eyes followed her. She stood tall, her steps measured, her expression calm. Councillor Thalix greeted her first. Ambassador Alara, he said, we are here to decide what should happen next. She nodded. We are not here to accuse you, another voice added, but we need clarity. Alara glanced around the room. What would you like me to say? Do you have feelings for the human? A voice asked directly. The room went still. She paused only a second. Not yet, she answered honestly, but I do not fear him. And do you understand the risks of growing closer? Thalix asked. I understand fear, she replied, but I choose curiosity. Outside the chamber, Jace waited. He'd been told not to enter, but as soon as the door opened, he stood. Alara walked out slowly, eyes searching for his. When she found them, she stopped. He didn't speak. She didn't either. But something passed between them. Something quiet, deep, and real. The council watched from inside, unsure of what they were seeing. But one thing was certain. This was not just about a touch anymore. It was about what came next. The council chamber remained tense even after Alara's quiet but brave answers. Across the galaxy, messages poured in. News outlets, political leaders, and social critics debated whether a Lithari diplomat and a human soldier could truly form a bond without chaos following behind. But while the rest of the universe argued, Earth's intelligence agencies quietly moved into action. Deep within a secure communications center on the moonbase Aegis Prime, Director Callan sat alone, watching the recording of Jace's now famous rescue. He watched it 3 times. Not for the act itself, but for the way Jace moved. Fast, accurate, natural. A protective instinct that activated before thought. Beside him, Agent Mei Lin stepped in and handed him a data chip. This is the Council's internal debate, she said. Intercepted from their shadow network. Callan slid the chip into the console. The voices that followed were not public. They were sharp, political, and worried. If he sees her as his own, he becomes a threat, one alien said. Another replied, if he feels pain through her, he could start a war. Callan sighed. So it begins, he muttered. Back on the station, Jace resumed his regular duties. He trained during the day, joined briefings at night, and avoided the diplomatic ring entirely. But no matter how hard he tried to stay invisible, eyes followed him. Not with hate. Not always with fear. Sometimes, simply with caution. In the cafeteria, a small group of alien cadets moved aside when he entered. One brave one remained. You're the one from the garden, the alien said, tapping his own chest in greeting. I saw the footage. Jace nodded. just did what anyone would do. No, the alien said. That's the part that scares everyone. Only a human would do that. At that moment, the cafeteria door opened, and Alara stepped in. Her appearance was unexpected, but graceful. She wore a soft robe with a flowing sash of her home planet's deep blue. She didn't look around. Her eyes went straight to Jace. Without asking, she sat at his table. The room fell silent. He stared at her. "You sure this is a good idea?" "No," she answered. "But nothing meaningful ever starts as a good idea." They spoke little after that, just shared a small meal in silence. But to those watching, the message was louder than any speech. Across the station, the ambassador from Yulan 9 whispered into a private channel. "They're not stopping," he said. She came to him. In public, a response came quickly. "Then it's time. Begin Phase 1. Meanwhile, deep in the biological research wing, 2 scientists analyzed human DNA. The samples had been taken with permission long ago, but now, they were studied with new urgency. "This sequence here," said Dr. Varenne, pointing to a highlighted section. "Their immune system changes faster than any known race." His assistant leaned closer. "Is that why they survive so many things?" "Partly," Varenne replied. "But look at this region. Emotion-linked adrenaline release. It's not just survival. They grow stronger when they feel danger, or when protecting someone." The assistant blinked. "Then bonding with a human isn't just political. It's biological risk." "Exactly," Varenne said. "And that's what the Council fears most. Not love, but loyalty." On Earth, public support for Jace grew. Videos of his actions had gone viral. Interviews with former teammates described him as someone who never backed down. A reporter asked an old general about Jace's combat history. "Once, he carried a wounded soldier 5 miles under enemy fire," the general said. "And when we asked him why, he said, because she mattered." Back on the station, Alara sat with her mentor, an elder named Seven, who had once served as chief diplomat. He poured tea into a clear glass. "You've crossed a line," he said gently. She nodded. "I didn't mean to at first. But now?" She sipped slowly. "Now I want to keep walking." Seven looked at her carefully. "Do you understand what happens if you continue?" "I become something new." She answered. He did not smile, but he didn't scold her either. In a nearby corridor, a cleaning drone passed over a maintenance panel that had been tampered with. No alert was sent. No one noticed. Inside that panel, a device blinked. Quiet, hidden. Someone had placed it there. The night before. The plan was set. Someone feared what Jace might become if the bond deepened, and they had decided to act before it was too late. Far away, a councilman gave the final order. "Target the human. Make it look like an accident." And in the cold silence of space, a ship turned its course toward the station, carrying weapons, secrets, and a deadly purpose. But the one thing they didn't plan for was how far a human would go to protect someone they care about. The space station glowed against the black sky, its wide arms stretching like a peaceful giant. But inside, tension built with every hour. In a quiet meeting room near the upper level, Alara stood in front of a large window. Her hands were folded, and her gaze rested on a small planet spinning slowly in the distance. She heard footsteps behind her but didn't turn. Her father, High Counselor Marek of Lithari Prime, entered the room. "Alara," he said softly. She remained still. "You came quickly." He walked to her side, looking at the same spinning world. "When your name appears on every screen in the galaxy, it's hard to ignore." She didn't speak. He glanced at her. "You've caused a storm." "I didn't plan this," she replied. "No one plans a storm," he said. But once it starts, you must choose. Take shelter or stand in the rain. Alara turned toward him. I choose to stand. He sighed, the lines around his eyes showing the weight of his position. The Council is watching. They fear a bond between you and the human, and honestly, I do too. He is not dangerous, she said firmly. No, Merrick agreed, but his kind is unpredictable. That's what makes them powerful and terrifying. She stepped closer to him. Do you believe I'm foolish? He didn't answer right away. No, I believe you're brave, but bravery often walks beside risk. Meanwhile, on the station's lower deck, Jace ran laps through the training hall. His breath came steady, his footsteps echoing down the long corridor. After 10 laps, he slowed and grabbed a towel. Ava met him at the exit. They're sending more guards to this station, she said. He wiped his face. Because of me? Because of what you represent. He raised a brow. A walking PR nightmare? She didn't smile. A spark in dry grass. Jace tossed the towel into a bin. Let them send whoever they want. Later, as Jace returned to his quarters, he noticed a shadow move across the hallway just before he turned the corner. He stopped, listened, then walked slowly forward. The corridor was empty. Inside his room, a soft red light blinked above his door. It meant someone had accessed the area while he was away. He reached under his bed and pulled out a small metal case. Inside was a compact sensor, a gift from an engineer. On Mars, Jace scanned the room. Within seconds, the device beeped. A tracking node had been placed inside the vent. He removed it carefully and stared at the small object. Nothing exploded. Nothing lit up. But its purpose was clear. Someone had been watching. He sat on the edge of his bed, turning the node in his fingers. Someone didn't trust him. Elsewhere, in a secure operations room hidden behind 3 levels of clearance, Commander Rilo of the Zarnik Alliance studied a holographic map of the station. His officers stood around him. The assassination will appear accidental, said a masked figure. Rilo nodded. Keep it quiet. A loud move will bring Earth's full force. The masked figure pointed to a service drone. This one delivers cleaning supplies to the upper floors. We've modified its coolant line. If it leaks near him, the system will think it's a routine malfunction. Rilo narrowed his eyes. And if he survives? Then we'll need a louder solution. That night, Alara walked the garden paths alone. Artificial stars twinkled. Above, projected on the dome ceiling, the soft light bathed the trees in silver. Jace appeared from the other end of the path. He looked tired, but calm. You found the tracker? She asked. He nodded. Wasn't hard. They didn't even hide. I told you this would happen. And I told you I don't scare easy. They walked side by side under the glowing trees. They think this is about control, Alara said quietly. It is, he replied. But not ours. She stopped walking. Then what is it? He looked at her with steady eyes. It's about fear. They're afraid of what we might become together. A soft wind passed through the garden, carrying the scent of unfamiliar flowers. Around them the station felt silent, too quiet. From the shadows, a service drone rolled forward. Alara took a step back. Jace narrowed his eyes. Get behind me, he said quickly. The drone hissed, coolant spraying from its base. Jace reacted, fast. He pulled Alara to the ground and rolled them both behind a thick tree. The coolant hit the air, sizzling and melting part of the nearby path. Security alarms stayed silent. Jace stood slowly, eyes locked on the now sparking machine. That was no accident, he muttered. Alara looked at the damage. They want you gone. He helped her up, his hands steady despite what just happened. Then we find out who they are. Together. She met his eyes. You really are like fire. He gave a small smile. And you? You're the reason I burn. In that moment, their alliance became more than whispers. It became a vow. And far above, in the dark corners of the station's command center, someone watched the footage, fuming. The plan had failed. Now the real trouble would begin. The failed drone attack changed everything. The next morning, extra guards stood in every hallway of the space station. Patrols doubled, scanners swept each corridor, and all service machines were checked and locked. But no one claimed responsibility for the malfunction. No one stepped forward. And that silence was more dangerous than any weapon. Commander Jace Walker sat at a steel table in the security office. His arms were crossed, his jaw tight. Across from him stood Director Kale from Earth's Strategic Defense Council. "You were almost killed," Kale said. "I've been almost killed before," Jace replied. "This wasn't war. This was sabotage." Jace leaned forward. "And someone inside this station approved it." Kale gave a sharp nod. "You're not wrong. But if we accuse the wrong person, we risk starting something bigger." Jace pushed back from the table. "It already started the moment they tried to end me." Elsewhere, Alara stood in the medical wing, watching footage of the coolant blast. Frame by frame, the liquid had sprayed just inches from where she had stood. A single step closer, and her body would have been burned beyond healing. Dr. Elson, a gentle Zarnik physician, joined her. "You're lucky," he said. She shook, her head. It wasn't luck, it was him. The doctor glanced at the screen. Humans move fast, very fast. Alara kept her gaze fixed. He moved because I was in danger. Later, in a private council meeting, leaders from 10 different worlds gathered to discuss the growing unrest. The room buzzed with worry. Counselor Thalix stood at the head of the table. "We can no longer ignore this bond. It has grown into something real, and real things cause real damage." The ambassador from Velnar 3 raised a hand. "Are we afraid of love?" "We're afraid of loyalty," Thalix replied. "Loyalty that leads to violence." Some nodded, others shifted uncomfortably. "If he is attacked again," another counselor said, "Earth may respond." "Exactly," Thalix answered. "That is the threat. One bond could pull down the structure we built over generations." Meanwhile, in the engineering bay, Jace met with Ava and a small team of human and alien technicians. They studied the remains of the drone that had been tampered with. "This wasn't an accident," Ava confirmed. "Someone rewired its coolant, pump, removed the safety limiters, and rerouted the error alerts." "Meaning?" Jace asked. "Meaning it was designed to explode when it got close to you." A Sarnan engineer tapped a small screen. "Here. The changes were done using a council-grade encryption key." Jace frowned. "Only the top-level officials have access to that. Or someone pretending to be one," Ava added. At the same time, Alara held a private conversation with her father over an encrypted channel. "They tried to kill him," she said. "I heard," Merrick replied, his face tight with concern. "And still, the council says nothing. Because they fear Earth. And because they fear you." Alara looked confused. "Me?" "You are changing the story," he said. "Not just for the Lithari, but for everyone. You are choosing a path we've never seen." "Is it the wrong path?" He paused. "No, but new roads are never easy." Later that evening, Jace received a message with no name. Just a time and location. Midnight. Cargo Bay 12. Come alone. He arrived without backup. The bay was dark and mostly empty. Crates lined the walls. The lights above flickered. From the shadows, a figure stepped out. It was small, with delicate limbs and glowing eyes. An Ulari trader known for gathering secrets. You're brave, the Uleri said. Or foolish. Maybe both, Jace replied. What do you know? The Uleri handed him a data card. This holds a list of names. People inside the council who approved the attack. Jace narrowed his eyes. Why help me? Because peace is good for business, and war destroys trade. As the figure disappeared into the shadows, Jace looked down at the card in his hand. It glowed faintly. Proof. The next day, Alara stood at the center of the diplomatic hall. All eyes turned to her as she stepped forward with quiet strength. I have something to say, she began. This alliance between myself and Commander Walker is not a mistake. It is not a scandal. It is a choice. Whispers echoed around the room. We do not fear each other, she continued. But some among you fear what we could become. So you try to stop it. She looked at Thalix directly. But when fear drives action, progress dies. Jace stepped in beside her. His voice was calm. We have names, we have proof, and we have each other. Gasps rippled through the room. Counselor Thalix stood, his face unreadable. Then the game has changed. Yes, Alara said, and it's only just begun. That day, the council didn't speak again, but the galaxy did, and the message was clear. Humans don't run, they rise. The space station's halls were no longer quiet. Whispers traveled faster than messages. Everywhere Jace and Alara walked, heads turned. Some faces showed fear, others curiosity, and a few showed quiet support. The council had not responded publicly, but the silence only fed the storm. Rumors spread that Earth was preparing to pull its representatives from the council. Others believed a secret alliance was already forming between humans and rebel species, tired of old rules. In the center of this growing tension, Jace met with Ambassador Rena Holt in a private security room. She studied the data card he had received. Its list of names glowed under the screen's soft light. These aren't low-level figures, she said. These are power players, council veterans, influencers, trusted officials. Jace kept his eyes on the screen. They tried to end me to stop a conversation, Rena nodded slowly. And now, they've lost control of the message. He crossed his arms. What happens next? We wait, she said. Not out of fear, out of strategy. Let them make the next move. Meanwhile, Alara met with Sivan, her old mentor, in a quiet chamber filled with soft light and flowing water. The room was meant for meditation, but today, it held questions. They are planning something, she told him. Of course, Seven replied. Power doesn't let go without a fight. They still see humans as unstable, she said. He raised an eyebrow. Are they wrong? She smiled faintly. They're incomplete. Humans are not only wild, they are also loyal. They fight hard, but they love harder. Seven sipped a cup of warm tea. That kind of strength frightens weak hearts. Back in the diplomatic wing, Counselor Thalix held a private meeting with his most trusted allies. The room was small, shielded from all recordings. We must act before Earth gathers more support, he said. One delegate leaned forward. Attack? Thalix shook his head. No. That failed. We need division, doubt. Turn their own people against them. And how do we do that? Simple, Thalix said. Expose the human's weakness. Use his emotions. He protects her. That is his flaw. At the same time, a hidden message was sent to a group known as the Shadow Wing, a covert faction that operated between law and silence. They never acted without purpose. But when the council called, they listened. Their mission was clear. Destabilize Jace without killing him. Break his reputation. End his influence. And make Alara question everything. Soon after, small changes began appearing around the station. Jace's access to training zones was limited. His quarters were searched twice in 1 week without warning. Reports were filed accusing him of ignoring protocol, though none were backed with evidence. He didn't speak about it. He trained harder, slept less, and watched everything more closely. Alara noticed the change. One night, as they walked the garden paths again, she stopped him. "They are trying to break you," she said. He kept his voice calm. "Let them try." She placed a hand gently on his arm. "Even you have limits." He looked at her. "Then it's good I have something worth holding on for." In another part of the station, Ava met with 3 other human officers. They had tracked strange movements in the system. Unauthorized ships were gathering near Council-controlled space. None carried flags, none sent signals. "This is pressure," Ava said. "They're testing us, trying to push without pushing too far." "We respond?" one asked. "Not yet, but we prepare." As the days passed, a change grew in the council. Younger delegates, those newer to power, began asking questions. "Why are we afraid of humans?" one asked. "They've kept peace," said another. "They didn't attack first. They saved her," a third whispered. Councillor Thalix noticed the shift and grew more desperate. He knew that once doubt entered, control began to fade. So he made one final plan, one bold move to turn everything. He arranged a false leak, a document claiming Jace had planned to manipulate Alara for political gain. The report claimed Earth's government had trained him for this, and Alara was only a target. The document reached the media in hours. News channels lit up, discussions exploded. Even some of Earth's allies demanded answers. Inside her quarters, Alara read the message in silence. Her hands trembled, but her mind stayed calm. She did not call Jace. Instead, she went to the council chamber alone. When she arrived, every delegate turned to her. Cameras rolled. The galaxy watched. "I read your lies," she said aloud. Murmurs rose, but she continued. "I was not tricked. I was not used. I chose this bond. And if that choice threatens your comfort, then perhaps comfort was your only goal." Councillor Thalix stood, his face pale. "You defend a species of chaos." "I defend truth," she said. "And the truth is this. He stood by me when no one else dared. That is not weakness. That is power." In the hallway beyond, Jace watched from a monitor. His chest was still, but his eyes were bright. She had spoken not as a diplomat, but as a partner, and now the world was listening. The council chamber fell into silence after Alara's bold speech. No one moved. The air was still, heavy with tension. Every eye rested on her, waiting for the next word, the next reaction, the next collapse that never came. Instead, she stood tall. Then slowly, Councillor Thalix sat down. His voice, when he spoke, was low. "You have made your position clear." Alara nodded. "And I will not repeat it." Across the galaxy, her words echoed through news feeds, broadcasts, and diplomatic briefings. Social networks lit up. Some criticized her. Others praised her courage. But no one ignored her. For the first time, a Lithari had defended a human not just with diplomacy, but with loyalty. In the days that followed, the station's mood shifted. The guards relaxed. The rumors slowed. Even the service drones rolled a bit more freely through the halls. The failed plans, the fear campaigns, the whispered lies, none had stopped the growing connection between Jace and Alara. Instead, they had only made it stronger. Jace received quiet nods from soldiers who once avoided him. A few alien crew members began asking him about Earth. What do trees feel like? How does the ocean sound? What does it mean to protect someone so deeply? His answers were always honest. Meanwhile, Alara returned to her duties, but now with more visitors. Young diplomats, curious scientists, and even council staff came to speak with her. Some asked about Jace. Others asked about her decision. She answered every question without shame. I followed my instinct, she would say, and I trust it. But not everyone was satisfied. A final emergency meeting was called. This time, Earth's ambassador Rena Holt arrived with 2 representatives from allied species. Those who had watched silently, waiting to see if the humans would rise or fall. They rose. Inside the chamber, Rena stood calmly before the full council. Earth has no wish to rule, she said. We do not seek to control the council. We only ask to be treated with fairness and respect. A senior council member leaned forward. Your soldier threatened our balance. He acted with honor, Rena replied. And you responded with silence and sabotage. The room buzzed with quiet murmurs. Rena placed a device on the table. A hologram glowed above it, showing the intercepted messages, drone tampering orders, and forged documents used against Jace. No more shadows, she said. No more secrets. The delegates shifted in their seats. Some lowered their heads. Others remained still, unwilling to admit defeat. But a few, the younger ones, met her gaze with understanding. Then, from the far side of the room, a surprising voice spoke up. Counselor Yena of Trallis 4, a small reptilian species known for caution, stood and addressed the chamber. We once feared humans, she said. But now I see that fear blinded us. They are not perfect, but neither are we. Perhaps it is time to build a future based on truth, not fear. Several members nodded. For the first time, cracks in the council's armor began to show. Outside, on the viewing deck, Jace and Alara stood side by side. The stars stretched endlessly before them. Between them was silence, but not the kind that holds doubt. It was the kind that speaks of peace. Alara turned to him. What if they ask us to leave? Jace smiled faintly. Then we leave. Together. She laughed softly. I thought you'd say that. Their hands touched, not in secret, not by accident, but in choice. At that moment, a message appeared on the main screen. Galactic Council enters new age of trust. Human bond recognized. A decision had been made, not by force, not by fear, but by understanding. Later, during a quiet celebration, Ambassador Rena raised her glass. To bonds that break walls, she said. Jace and Alara shared a glance across the room. The galaxy had watched them fall, stumble, and rise again. It had seen their loyalty tested, and it had witnessed something rare. A connection that stood against pressure, survived attack, and refused to be erased. That was the real strength. Not in weapons, not in fear, but in the choice to stand beside someone, no matter the world they came from. Far beyond the station, stars continued to shine. Ships moved between planets. Life went on. But somewhere, deep within the data archives of the Council, a new file was added. Its title was simple. Case Study, Human Lethari Bond. Outcome, Unexpected Stability. In time, others would read it. Some would understand, others would question. But all would remember the names. Alara of Lethari Prime, Jace Walker of Earth. 2. Souls from different worlds who changed everything, not by fighting, but by choosing to care.